One of the main jobs for a future business owner when developing their business plan is to determine what their projected costs and what their projected revenues are going to be. In this video, we're going to run through the meaning of costs and revenue. We'll give you some examples of things you might want to look out for in your business plan. And then we'll work through a couple of worked examples to try and actually determine, okay, well, how can we, as future business owners, try to, create a simplified projected income statement? And one of the things I want to highlight is that this is by no means a full income statement. It is a very simplified version. And the emphasis of the skill that we're trying to impart is, the actual process of determining what costs are and what your potential revenue is, so that we can actually try to create a situation where we've got a business earning profit. So the first thing we'll go through here is this cost aspect. Now, what do we mean when we talk about costs? Well, cost really refers to the expenditure of running a business. Now, costs can come under many different categories, but at the end of the day, it's any money spent in running the business itself, whether we're talking about setting up the business or whether we're talking about ongoing running costs. So to give you some examples of what some costs are, an example of a cost might be rent on a premises where you actually have the physical location of your organization. And, rent is, usually quite a significant cost for a lot of businesses. And you can see how, being an online business is so attractive for so many people, because rent is, a significant chunk of the costs that they actually need to pay. If you have a physical location, then, furniture and fittings is a massive part of that. So say, for example, we're running a retail business, we're talking about change rooms for customers, we're talking about furniture fixturings to actually show off your products and however you decide to highlight your inventory. All of that would come under the furniture and fittings category. We'd also have, the cost of goods, which really just pertains to any expenditure in producing your product. And that's going to mean different things for different businesses, depending on whether you are a trading business, a retail business, or a service-based interest. Those costs of goods sold are going to look very different. If we're talking about a retail business, for example, if we're talking about a clothing company, costs of goods sold include the actual materials used to produce your clothing, whatever else that goes into the labor of actually creating the product itself. Another really big cost for a lot of businesses includes wages. And, wages are a significant cost, particularly if we're talking about a company which requires quite a lot of employees. If we were to take the example of, say, a restaurant, for example, a restaurant is a business that requires quite a significant amount of employees, people working in the kitchen, people working as servers, maybe people working behind a bar. And as a result, wages does become a significant amount of expenditure for those companies. Final kind of type of cost that we will talk about is, potentially any utility bills that might come as a result of running your business. And we talk about utilities, we're talking about electricity, we're talking about water, all those associated costs with actually, maintaining and operating your business in the first place. So they become really important when we're actually talking about the overall types of costs that go into running a business. And obviously, the costs that you incur go a long way in determining how much your product is going to cost. And that's the relationship that we're going to actually try and highlight here. So let's quickly have a look through a little worked example. And my color has gone completely white here. So what we're going to look at is a florist that sells flowers. And we'll look at some of the costs that this business might actually incur as a result of their operation. So we'll call this Susie's Flower Shop. Susie has a flower shop. And she has quite a lot of costs which she incurs as well. The first cost is rent. So her flower shop is a physical business. Her rent is around about $15,000 per year. So that's obviously what she needs to pay to her landlord in order to continue running her business. She has other associated costs, and we might call these, I'll kind of bracket these into utilities, and we'll say maintenance of furniture as well, maintenance. And those costs are around about $25,000 per year. Now, Susie's flower shop obviously produces a product, which is bouquets of flowers. And every flower arrangement, will cost her a certain amount of money per customer. And there will also be other costs that go into that as well. So let's say, just in terms of the raw materials required for producing those bouquet of flowers, her flower costs per arrangement equals $7.50 per arrangement, and labor costs per arrangement will be at around about $12.50. So that's the expertise it requires to actually come up with creative and beautiful flower bouquets, and she'll obviously tailor those to her customers' expectations as well. What we'll do is we'll look at a situation here where I want you to answer a question for me. I want you to have a think about, or rather to calculate, Susie's total costs if she makes 1,000 flower arrangements per year. And what we'll do is we'll have a look at this worked example first off, just to give you an idea of how we might actually come up with an answer for this particular question. So first thing I'm going to do is have a look at what her fixed costs are going to be. And when I talk about fixed costs, I'm saying that these are external to the production of her product, so they don't actually change depending on how many flower bouquets that she creates. So Susie's fixed costs are rent and utilities. And in order to determine the value of her fixed costs, we need to add then the rent and utilities, which is $15,000 plus $25,000, which gives us a total fixed cost of $40,000 per year. We can also see that Susie's got some other associated costs. These are the costs per arrangement. So we'll call these the variable costs because they'll actually change depending on how much Susie produces. So in this case, the number that we're looking at is 1,000 flower arrangements, but the calculation we're going to go through now is going to be different if she had created 750 flower arrangements, or if she'd gone ahead and done 1,500 flower arrangements. Now, to determine the variable costs, I'm going to figure out, okay, well, what goes into every flower arrangement? So I can see that the cost of the flowers and the cost of the labor is $750 plus $12.50, which equals $20. Now, taking that $20 number, what I need to do is I need to see, okay, how much does that cost per flower arrangement? 1,000 flower arrangements is how much Susie made in total. And we are going to then times that or multiply that by the $20 figure. And that gives us $20,000 in total. So then in order to figure out total costs, I'm going to add my fixed and my variable to give the final amount, $20,000, which is variable, and $40,000, which is fixed. So Susie's costs per year when she produces 1,000 flower arrangements is $60,000.